More on the Woolwich attack, and let's join MP George Galloway. He's there in London. Mr. Galloway, in a recent tweet, you compared the Woolwich attackers with UK-sponsored Syrian rebels. What do you mean by that?
Well, this was a grotesque and sickening act of murder involving either the attempt or the successful beheading of someone by fanatic extremists. The sort of thing that happens in Syria every day, except sometimes they even cut out the heart and the liver of the deceased and eat it on video for the entertainment of their brothers in the barracks afterwards. And Britain is helping to pay for that sickening barbarism in Syria. But when it comes close to home, happens on our own streets by the same kind of people. These people, influenced by the Al-Qaeda mindset, are exactly the same kind of people that we are paying for, arming, giving all kinds of war material and agitating to give them more in Syria. And so I simply asked David Cameron, as I've asked him before in Parliament, if he would adumbrate the key differences between the hand-chopping, throat-cutting fanatics that we saw in Woolwich yesterday and the hand-chopping, throat-cutting fanatics we're giving money and weapons to in Syria.
The London Mayor, Boris Johnson, he said it is wrong to blame UK foreign policy for this. So you would clearly disagree with that. And would you say that if we did pull out the troops from Afghanistan, we wouldn't get those sort of incidents again?
Well, Britain has been helping to radicalise these extremist fanatics for a very long time, with its support for Israel in its crimes against the Palestinian people, with its participation in US invasions and occupations of Muslim countries. We have spawned across the world maybe tens, maybe hundreds of millions of radicalized Muslims, fanaticized by the injustice and the double standards of Western policy towards the Muslim world. And all I say is that in a kind of grotesque double whammy, we've now added to that by reprising our policy in the 1980s of actually helping to build a Frankenstein monster in Syria, and the very same raw material of radicalized, fanaticized extremists is being used. And it came back to haunt the United States, Spain and Britain and many other places after the Afghan experience, when we built the first Frankenstein monster. And now we're doing it all over again in Syria, as we did a year or so ago in Libya. So
let me just quickly ask you, I know that you're very, very well knowledge about Islam, and some people say, is this something about Islam that is pushing people to do such extremist acts?
No, I don't accept that at all, any more than the butchery of Franco, the Spanish fascist dictator, had anything to do with Jesus Christ, even if the people doing the torturing and the butchering were wearing the cross on their sleeves. George W. Bush was a fanatic, born-again Christian, he said, but that had nothing to do with Jesus. So I don't accept that at all. What is the case is that in Palestine, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, over this last decade and more, much more in the case of Palestine, Western complicity in murder and mayhem and misery in the Muslim world has generated extremism and fanaticism.
So why, Mr. Galloway, do we see, if you're saying it's UK and US policy abroad, why are we seeing then this homegrown terrorism from these two suspects in Woolwich? They were brought up in the UK, they were educated in the UK. That's not coming from abroad, is it?
Well, they told you, didn't they, to video. I assume your viewers have seen it or at least read about it. They told you why they committed this grotesque and sickening act yesterday. They told you from their own mouths that they were doing it because of the situation facing Muslims abroad. I see no reason to disbelieve them. The crime, the sin is that the young man who paid with his blood, just like on 7/7 when more than 50 British people paid with their lives, and hundreds with their blood, maimed and wounded, ruined forever, was that innocent people were being punished for the crimes of guilty people. And that's a crime in any language, it's a sin in any religion.
MP George Galloway, live in London. Really interesting to hear your thoughts and your perspective. Thank you for your time here on RT.
Welcome.
Well, the alleged